So, good morning, everyone. It's nice to see so many friends, and I'm looking forward to meeting some new ones. Um, when people talked about what's the intersection between immigrant rights and labor rights, Dolores, who founded the United Farm Workers 50 years ago, Cesar Chavez and others, um, one of the big things that is ingrained in all of us is that people are not just workers, they're not just students, they're not just neighbors, they're in fact all those things. And I was reminded of that every day by the people that we have the honor to work with and fight alongside. So for us, these things are totally integrated. Yep. Sure. Is that better? Okay. So when we talk about fair treatment for farm workers and the Fair Treatment for Farm Workers Act, we're talking about some very basic things. And it's a very basic fight that the people who feed us every day should have the same basic set of rights that others do in this country. And the Fair Treatment for Farm Workers Act really started with that principle, that farm workers should have the same right to join a union. There's enough other things in a farm worker's life that are difficult, from getting to this country, to waking up, to what it means when farm workers go to work at 5 in the morning, what that means for getting your children to school. So really basic things that are really difficult in farm workers' lives. The legal process for joining a union shouldn't be more difficult than registering to vote, signing up for the military, or what a public employee in this state has right now to join a union. And it's based on the notion that legally all the rights that most workers in this country gained in 1938, 74 years ago, other than agricultural workers and domestic workers under the Fair Labor Standards Act, the right to overtime pay, exclusion from child labor, domestic workers and agricultural workers were left out of that. So this has been this campaign, the Fair Treatment for Farm Workers, to achieve those things. And over the 50-year history of the United Farm Workers, because of the leadership of Dolores and others, many of those obstacles that came out 74 years ago have been removed in California and now in many of the other states as well, although many still remain. So what are some of our challenges today in California? What we've seen is that a lot of really good laws that are now on the books are not in fact the laws in the fields for farm workers. Let me talk about why we think it's so important that farm workers have an organization and a union. Angelica mentioned the basic notion of pay, what people are paid. So these are 2 buckets of tomatoes. The one on right here is what a group of workers, a couple thousand people, were being asked to pick last year. The bucket on the left is what now workers under a union contract being picked. They actually paid more for the bucket on the left than they were for the bucket on the right. But the simple thing of their employer requiring that a full bucket look like this and not like that. And I have an 8-year-old. When I showed her the picture, I said, "Which bucket is full?" Right? And she said, "Well, that one, that's full." Right? Anyone can see that this is not fair. That people are expected to pick a full bucket is more. That's an extra 4 pounds of tomatoes. Just that simple switch means that a couple thousand people are making $1,000 more this summer than they did last summer, now that they have a union contract. So when we talk about what a union contract can mean, aside from how much you're paid per bucket or per piece, et cetera, those are really, really fundamental things. And you can imagine I have 2 young children, so when I think about $1,000 a year for an 8-year-old, 9 years from now, that's $9,000. What that means for her going to college or other set of things as these build. It also means when we talk about a union, it means enforcing those laws that the state is not able to enforce. It means farm workers or other workers, when they have their own organization, using their own money, which they pay in dues, to make sure that the law is actually enforced. That's when workers join a union, what they're doing is, there's a big tax fight on the ballot this November, and it's an important initiative. Elected officials are used to taxing other people. Right? When workers join a union, they're making a decision that they are taxing themselves. to enforce laws that are important to them. And so it's very powerful. And I want to focus in some of this discussion around the very basic notion that people who work in extreme heat should have water and shade. You know, the group of folks who are marching 50 miles from the warehouse industry, they've described temperatures of 120 degrees that they're working inside. And so for us in the farm worker movement, that was very powerful when we heard that extreme heat and not having clean drinking water, for the very simple notion that the body needs water to recover from that heat. So this is an example of what shade looks like at a union company. It's not fancy, it's really pretty straightforward, and the water is kept cool in an igloo. We've had some big debates over these last couple years of, well, how do you make sure water's cool? A UFW member shared with a group of legislators. He said, no sé cómo se llama en inglés, pero en español es hielo. Right? Ice. I don't know how you call it, but it's ice. That's what keeps water cool. Very simple. It's very simple. This is a group of folk taking a break. So what are the obstacles to these very, very simple things? What are the obstacles? When workers who don't have lots of money face employers that do have lots of money, right? That's what we're talking about here. And I don't think any of us should ever be unclear about that. So the Chamber of Commerce has a list of bills that they call job killers. Job killers. And they've been successful in both Republican administrations and Democrat administrations killing those bills, as they say up in Sacramento. People throw that word around a lot. Job killers, killing bills, right? Well, agricultural work is a job that kills right now. There are these are just 5 of the people who in the last 7 years have died because they didn't have the simple thing of water and shade. Governor Schwarzenegger 7 years ago signed a bill that gave people the right to water and shade, and he came to us, and this is the gentleman speaking his name is Jose Cruz. He lost his nephew, Constantino Cruz. Constantino died between the Thursday and the Monday that we were negotiating that bill, that regulation. That was a regulation that had sat since 1983, and I see Cynthia Rice is here, and Mark Schott, and Bruce Goldstein, and others who have, over the years, fought to make sure that there are basic things. And Schwarzenegger said, I couldn't believe I had to sign a regulation to provide water and shade. Well, this is what shade has looked like at some of the places afterwards. That's non-union. Again, not complicated. That's what it's looked like in some other places. An umbrella, tin can. Again, not complicated. Not complicated. So what did we do? Folks have organized. They've been pushing this young woman, Maria Isabel, who died 4 years ago now. Her family, when we talk about partners, her family made the courageous decision, despite their immigration status, despite the fact that they were blacklisted, they made the decision that they would do something about it. We've been joined by people in the faith community. And last year, we realized that we had a new opportunity with a new administration, but also the fact that the Latino vote was 1 out of 3 people who voted for Governor Brown were Latino. And so those politics have changed. Some of the fights that took place 50 years ago that Dolores led and others, really the politics are fundamentally different. If you went to any other constituency and said, I'm 1 out of 3, the list of things that we talk about, and that's why I'm so excited about being at this meeting, because we're being expansive about the things that we're fighting for, as we should be. So this is a march in LA that I know that many of you participated in, so I wanted to make sure to include it. I was at the Capitol last year. And there are setbacks along the way. I mentioned a veto. This was a 200-mile march that took place last year. So for my brothers and sisters from the warehouse industry, I know the knees are painful and there's a lot of blisters, but these things really do, when we involve people, you can do incredible things. So I just want to end by saying that I think the core lessons have been, we've reached out to lots of people. People from the Humane Society are supporting what we're doing, because when they realize that animals, if you are an animal owner and you don't provide water and shade, you can go to jail. It's a criminal misdemeanor. So we have a bill this year that would do just that. If a farm worker doesn't get water and shade, you can be prosecuted. And we believe that in the end, that's how you take on when states are underfunded in these times and people are being asked, and you're taking on industries that are big, that workers do in fact need organization. They need organization so that they can win more money, so that they can enforce the laws that are on the books, and also so that they can continue to pass and be partners with some of the others here. And we were really proud to partner with domestic workers earlier this year. We're proud to partner with the warehouse workers and others. So thank you so much. I know we want to respect the time of others.